Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries, plus napkins, plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello Rank Squad and welcome to Ranks FC. It's your Champions League takeaway, looking back at all the action in the Champions League semi-final first legs over the course of this week. My name is Jack Collins and I'll be your host for today. And joining me as ever, my co-host, our Champions League guru, Mr. Dean Jones. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, we just watched the Dortmund game. It was good, wasn't it? It was a very entertaining match. Atmosphere looked absolutely unbelievable. Would have been a brilliant one to be at.
Yeah, it looked very special at the Westfalenstadion, and that little period at the end where the players sit down and reflect and just sort of say thank you to the fans, and then everyone celebrates afterwards. It's truly one of those most magnificent kind of moments in football, isn't it? And you see it, and that's something you just kill to be a part of on a night like tonight. We're going to talk about both games, but I think it feels fair to start with the one that took place tonight, where Borussia Dortmund beat PSG 1-0 at home in that first leg. Dean, what was your biggest takeaway from this game?
Well, it turns out that Jadon Sancho actually might be worth £73 million, but only when he's got a Dortmund kit on. This was vintage, absolutely vintage. Everything that I've really doubted about Sancho was on display here. I usually don't like his body language. For the last couple of years, I've had to question his ability to actually get at people, be direct enough. His decision-making in the final third has had me screaming at the TV on plenty of occasions. But he had all of it in abundance here. And it's just incredible what confidence and self-love can do. Like looking after yourself and having a environment. Like having a good manager that cares about you and a group of fans that care about you and being happy. Like, okay, so what was the issue then at Man United? Was Sancho the issue? Or was it maybe Solskjaer or Rangnick or Ten Hag or the rest of the squad or the people around the training ground? Probably wasn't Sancho, was it? And for him to have been told he wasn't even allowed to sit with the other players in a changing room or to go and sit with the kids, when you're as good a player as that, oh my God, absolutely so disrespectful. And there's absolutely no chance if I was him, I'd be wanting to go back there. I'd be wanting to win the Champions League and then sign for anyone but Man United. If he can play this well, absolutely. But if he can play this well in the Champions League, right, he can do it anywhere. And this is the thing, like you think of what we've seen of Sancho in the Premier League and how underwhelming it's been. You see that, you think, imagine if he hadn't gone to Man United. Imagine if he'd gone back to Man City, or imagine if he'd gone to this Liverpool team that we've been watching and what they would have done with him, the version that we would have got out of him. I was just really pleased for him tonight that he was able to produce a performance like that on this stage. And actually, to take the point further, it's not even just him. This team is like a bunch of misfits, right? Half of them I just kind of haven't fitted in anywhere or don't really know what else to do at the moment. You got Ian Maatsen, who didn't get in at Chelsea, so he's been loaned out. He wants to play for Borussia Dortmund. Sabitzer, he went to Man United. Looked like like a cone at times. He was useless. Like he was not useless, but he was not fit for purpose. And he comes in here, runs the show. Emre Can was Melon of the Year. He's just played another good game, and he seems to keep turning out decent performances. Mats Hummels should be retired. He's on the verge of a Champions League final.
He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. That's 2 Superman performances from Mats Hummels. We saw one against Bayern in the Klassiker and that game, and we spoke about how just incredibly impressive and effective Mats Hummels was in that game. Tonight, just turn that dial up once again to 11. I love watching him playing like this.
There was one challenge he made on the halfway line that I think I might go back and watch later. It was so good. Like, he is incredible footballer. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense as to how Dortmund have underachieved by so much in the Bundesliga and are probably overachieving by being on the verge of a Champions League final. But Jadon Sancho probably sums it up in that they've got nothing to lose. They're also using this as a platform for themselves. And maybe the combination of those two things is perfect at the moment for this team. There's always someone in cup competitions that surprises you. And we even said it when we ranked these 4 teams. I put Dortmund 4th, but wasn't convinced about it at all. I said to you straight away, I was like, I'm putting them 4th, but I actually think they're going to be in the final. Here we are. They're 1-0 up from the first leg. Jadon Sancho just put in one of the performances of his life. Füllkrug scored the goal. They possibly should have had a second because they had a penalty appeal that looked very like it could have been a penalty.
I think probably should have been.
Probably should have been. Obviously, PSG will argue they should have taken chances too, but nevertheless, this was Jadon Sancho's night.
Well, you say that, and I think it's interesting because I wouldn't have made Jadon Sancho man of the match. Now, Ali McCoy did, and he spoke about the confidence flowing through him and spoke about this kind of sense on TNT Sports about when he feels like he's the best player on the park, when he feels like he's better than the person he's being marked by, and he just has that confidence flowing through him like electricity. On the ball, there are a few players who can manipulate it as well as Jadon Sancho. And I thought he was electric. To be honest, I thought Dortmund to a man were absolutely brilliant. But, and you mentioned him before, my man of the match would have been Marcel Sabitzer. I thought he absolutely ran the show in centre midfield. And again, you know, I think what you said about Manchester United was slightly harsh in that there were moments where Sabitzer, you were like, oh, wow. And I think he was struggling with injury, struggling with form. He'd been out of that Bayern Munich side that he hadn't been able to force his way into for the period preceding that loan to Manchester United. And I think when you kind of come to that period of him, it just didn't feel like Sabitzer was at the level that maybe he would have expected of himself, but definitely not at the level we were seeing from him at RB Leipzig. This was all action. He was everywhere. He was creating in the final third. He was destroying in his own half. There was so much to love about this Sabitzer performance from, you know, sort of start to finish and from either end of the pitch. I thought that what he brought to this Dortmund team, that sense of purpose with the ball, that sense that when he had it, things were going to happen, that ability to allow other players to stream forward and join the attack, nominally Julian Brandt, but, you know, Adeyemi was excellent on that left-hand flank as well. Füllkrug linking up with Sabitzer when he decided to make those bursts forward. And Emre Can, yes, sets the platform. But I thought it was Sabitzer going up and down next to him that really set the foundations for the defensive performance. And also was the fulcrum, no pun intended, of which it sort of surrounded the attack and of which the entire attack functioned. I thought it was one of the most complete displays I've seen, not just from him, but from anyone in this competition as a whole. And I just wanted to give him his props because I think maybe, especially in the English language commentaries, that's being slightly overshadowed by what was a wonderful night for Jadon Sancho, but I didn't think it should be overlooked here on Ranks FC. And in contrast, I suppose, the third point is that I've spent a lot of time complimenting PSG's midfield, talking about the balance that it's had, talking about the ability of Vitinha to get in between the pockets and make things happen in the final third, the ability that they have to rotate as a 3 so that different players play in different positions. I thought they were completely and utterly overrun in the middle today. And on top of that, we saw very little link between that midfield and the PSG attack. Yes, PSG had their moments, but they felt like moments. And the only sustained period of pressure the PSG had was the period in which we started to see players getting forward from this midfield and being able to link with the front three in order to create chances. And almost as soon as that moment came, it disappeared again. And I think that when you kind of look at this, look, I'm not going to sit here and criticize Vitinha too much because I thought he was okay and kept things ticking, but wasn't his usual creative self in that final third and wasn't able to impact the play in those areas. I thought that Fabian Ruiz had a pretty terrible game, to be honest. He'd have a moment of doing something excellent. And, I love Fabian Ruiz, ex-Betis, but he'd have a moment where he'd do something brilliant. Like he nutmegged someone by the corner flag at one point to allow PSG to play themselves out of trouble. And then just slung a crossfield pass straight to a Dortmund player. And I was like, what are you doing? The kind of a lack of composure. And Lucho must be going absolutely ballistic with this team. And I don't think he'll be going mad about the missed chances. I don't think he'll be going mad about, okay, a couple of those inside of the post twice in a minute, fine. The Fabian Ruiz chance where he heads it wide is a little bit unfortunate in the way he gets to the ball. And I think that there are a couple of moments right at the end where PSG will think, how have we not scored? I don't think Lucho will be going mad about those moments. I think he will be going absolutely mad about the lack of control and composure that his midfield three were able to assert on this game. Because you look back and yes, Lucho with Barcelona had an absolutely incredible front three that made things happen. But the heart of the team, the hub that made it tick was that midfield. And the balance in that midfield and the ability they had to bounce off each other and just calm games down when they were getting out of their control, just slow things down and then move forward and allow those creative players in the attack to flourish. There was none of that from PSG tonight. And I think that's what he'll be most upset about when it comes to, maybe he won't say this in his post-match conference because there's a lot to get through in that regard. And he'll say, we're still in the tie. He'll want to keep spirits up, I imagine. But I think privately and in that dressing room, he is going to be furious with the midfield three and the lack of composure they had across this entire game.
And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't forgive Fabian Ruiz ever for missing that chance because the pass from Marquinhos was unbelievable. Like in a game when you've struggled to make a breakthrough and then someone's kind of a pass that exquisite. I mean, I know Fabian Ruiz has probably seen it slightly late. I don't really know why he went with his head, to be honest. He could have just guided it in. That surprised me a bit. But that Marquinhos pass up there as well with the Jadon Sancho disguised pass late on were two standout moments in the game. I just say, for me with PSG as well, when Mbappé is playing centrally, it's just not the same. You just he's standing around in areas that you want him arriving in. And this is going to be one of the most interesting things about when he does phase into his Real Madrid career is I know he will still play out wide, but he's also going to play centrally. There's no denying it. He's just not the same. He's obviously still a goal threat and you don't want to be marking him, but he's not moving in the way that he wants to move. He's going side to side and he's making side steps and you want him gliding in with the ball or arriving in there at full pace to, come onto a ball. It's just not the same. And obviously he nearly scored here still and all of that. And that's fine. He's still a great player. But it does affect him. And, if he's in the middle for the next game, for as long as he was in this one, I think Dortmund will be pretty happy with that.
I've got more on this later. So we're actually going to come back to this point when we talk about Real Madrid. But I think it's definitely something worth considering and definitely something that we should be thinking about ahead of this move to Real Madrid, how he functions. I was a little bit surprised that when Randall Kolo-Muani came on, Mbappe didn't function more off that left-hand side. Instead, he sort of kept drifting inwards. And I don't know if that's just sort of muscle memory from playing up front for 70 minutes, or it's because they were trying to get Nuno Mendes space to attack down that flank. But it didn't really work.
That's true, yeah.
And I think it's interesting to see how PSG kind of adapted to that situation as opposed to maybe starting with Mbappe working off the flank. And you imagine he's going, I told you I don't want to play there. I told you I don't want to play in the middle. I want to be able to attack players from that wide position. So yeah, definitely something worth thinking about. Both of these games we're going to finish with something slightly different. Obviously, it's going to be a shorter episode today with only 2 games to discuss. But Dean, with the tie balanced as it is, and I think that's almost perfectly poised, 1-0 to the away team going into the home leg. How do you see this going in the second leg? And who do you think progresses?
I think PSG will go through. It might take extra time, might take penalties. I don't I don't think 1-0's enough. That's probably my big take. And like that's why I was a bit gutted for Dortmund that penalty wasn't given, because they probably deserve to win 2-0 tonight. And the fact that they haven't is possibly going to hurt them. They'll go to Paris and they'll definitely make a game of it because it's pretty much the game of their lives to get to a Champions League final. But it's going to be tough. And I would not expect Paris to go through a 2-legged semi-final without scoring a goal. And that's the biggest fear I'd have if I was Borussia Dortmund. Like, just restricting to the one's going to be tough. So that means Dortmund have to go to PSG and score. I just don't really fancy it, to be honest. I think Paris will go.
Well, if they keep allowing that Adeyemi-Marquinhos matchup to keep happening, then they're always going to have a chance on the break.
They'll learn from this. I'm assuming Paris learn.
I was less confident than you on Borussia Dortmund. And I know you said you still put them fourth, but you were pretty adamant that you thought they had a puncher's chance, or more than a puncher's chance, of going through in this tie. And I was less confident because Luis Enrique. But they've just pulled out one of these performances for the ages. Yes, the crowd did their part. Yes, it's not going to be the same at the park, although it will be quite fiery and very partisan in the same manner. It's not quite the same atmosphere. Very few in the world are to the Westfalenstadion. But if Borussia Dortmund, now that they have fallen behind in this race for fourth spot with RB Leipzig after losing to them at the weekend, if they choose to rotate heavily at the weekend and they ask these players to pull out one more absolute moment of a lifetime performance, I think they play like that again, they win the tie. Now, whether they can play like that again in the park, not on their own terms, not on their own turf, is a slightly different question, I suppose. But generally, I think if they can perform to that standard again, they will go through, no matter what Paris throw at them. But that's a big if. But I thought it was worth raising at the same time.
Yeah, look, it's not beyond the realms of reality that could happen. Look, they managed to stay in the tie in the first leg when they went to Atletico Madrid in the first leg, but they were 2-0 down in that game and came back into it and were able to turn it around in the second leg at home. You look at the round of 16, Dortmund went to PSV Eindhoven, got a 1-1 draw. Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical about them having quite. Yeah, I mean that would be enough, but that was PSV. It wasn't PSG, and I think the PSG will score more than one in this second leg.
What I do like about this Borussia Dortmund side in the Champions League is that they found different players to find a way, right? And as you say, in that game against Atleti away from home, it was Zebi Aller, who wasn't available tonight due to injury, who came on and got the really important goal for them. In the second leg of that game, it was Sabitzer who came up trumps late on, providing the assist, and then the actual game-winning goal as well in that one. In the games against PSV, the 2-0 win at home, Jadon Sancho is the man who scores the first one. Marco Reus comes off the bench to score the second one in that game. The way it's just kind of shaking out, and it was Daniel Marlin, right, who scored the goal away at PSV against his former club. When you kind of look at the players that are stepping up, it's not the same man every single time for Borussia Dortmund. It's a different player stepping up. And Füllkrug had his moment tonight with that goal, which is so beautifully taken. The way he takes the ball down and fires it hard and low. And there was a little bit of chat about Donnarumma should do better. I don't think so. Not when you hit it that early and that hard after that first touch. I thought it was a really, really good finish. I thought he was brilliant today. Aller out. He's been a big part of this Borussia Dortmund side. And obviously his story is absolutely incredible. But when you kind of come back to all of that, it was a moment for Niklas Füllkrug to step up. And he's had a pretty good season, I think. His goals return isn't great, but what he brings to the table in terms of holding up the ball and bringing others into play, I think he's probably one of the most underrated players of the season in that regard. And we've had some similar comments down this line from some of the Borussia Dortmund fans on our Patreon. When you kind of look at how he performed tonight, how he scored, how he took his chance. Yes, okay, he missed a couple of other ones, but also how he was on the end of everything, how he was involved in everything. Really good night for him, I thought. And repaying some of the faith. Yes, okay, by the time that Borussia Dortmund bought him, he was a German international and someone who was starting relatively regularly as the number 9 for the German national side. Okay, they were in a poor moment. But also, it was still a bit of a gamble, even if he was scoring goals for a side lower down the division, to bring him in and make him a key point of an attack that already had Sebi Haller. And I thought he repaid that really well tonight. A big moment for him. And it's been a good week for German internationals across not just the Champions League, but Kai Havertz had a couple of very good games. Toni Kroos, brilliant yesterday. Niklas Füllkrug, excellent tonight. It's been a good win. Karim Adeyemi as well for Germany. And Julian Nagelsmann must be looking at this and going, there are pieces I can use here.
Yeah. We talked the other day about how we might yet have a German Ballon d'Or winner coming into this year. Let's wait and see.
Well, I haven't got to Thursday night for Florian Wirtz yet, but we shall see indeed. Right, we will park that one there. After the break, we are going to be talking about Real Madrid against Bayern Munich. Don't go anywhere.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries plus napkins plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
Welcome back to Champions League Takeaway here on Ranks FC. One semi-final first leg down, one semi-final first leg to go. Bayern Munich 2, Real Madrid 2 at the Allianz Arena. Dean, what did you make of this one? What was your big takeaway?
Well, Madrid obviously weren't at their best at all. Or maybe they were. Maybe this is just how they play. Their man of the match was Bayern Munich centre-back, Kim Min-jae. And
that's so harsh.
It's not really. I mean, to just start, I'm going to start by talking about Vinicius Jr. I took a break, didn't I, in the last round because it was all about Rodrigo. But once again, we're talking about Vinicius Jr. Now, Kim was done by the most basic forward play you'll ever see. And maybe, I don't know why he went with him, but Vinicius Jr. makes that run. He starts to come deep. He opens up the space behind him. And he just turns and go. And when in those moments, you're trusting that your midfielder sees the movement and sees the space, and it goes. When Toni Kroos is on the ball, that's going to happen. Kim was honestly made to look like a Sunday league footballer because that is the most basic forward play you could see. And you could see in Kim, as soon as it happened, absolutely kicking himself. Just an actual schoolboy error. I'd dress that up as, and then obviously gives away the penalty as well. But away from slating Kim, let's give Vinny his glory, because something's happening here. Like, he is a superstar. If you were to value him in the market now, forget £100 million. I think you could probably even forget £150 million. Like, this is a guy that's heading to be worth £200 million. And the reason I would say that is because not only is he probably the best attacking outlet in the game, but he loves big games. And that's when you really define yourself as a true superstar. When all eyes are on you, when you're in the biggest matches in club competition and you do the business again and again and again, you are properly elite. And that's where Vinny is sat right now. In terms of his impacts that he has in Champions League ties, this is his third knockout brace. He scored, obviously, against Liverpool twice in 2021, and he also did it in 2023. But more recently, if you look at what Vinny's been capable of in big moments for Madrid, he delivers. Both times they played against Man City, Vinny delivers. They play against Barcelona, he delivers. They play here against Bayern Munich, he delivers. Honestly, like, no one can handle him. his pace and his movement, nobody knows what to do about it. He's such a threat. Even when he drops into the middle, you're so scared of that movement that Kim got done by. As soon as there's space for him to spin into, you're not going to catch him and he's not going to miss. When he's out on the touchline, as soon as he gets going inside you, you're scared to touch him because you're going to foul him, but you also don't know what to do to stop him. His tally now in this competition is looking good. His stats in terms of assists and goals are up there. And I just running out of ways to describe this guy. If I was to rank my favourite footballers in the world right now, I think he would be my number one. And he's done it again. Like, Madrid wouldn't have got through this tie without him. They also wouldn't have got through the one before that. They probably wouldn't have got through the groups even before that. You know, this is not the best version of Real Madrid you'll ever see. We've talked about how they play off the cuff. This is why they can, because of players like this.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, to come back to that point that I kind of alluded to earlier, is Ancelotti quietly converting Vinicius into the number 9? Because he played through the middle here for lots of it. Yes, okay, he drifted left still. But that movement for the goal, as you say, is pure number 9. It's pull off the defender, make him come with you and dart back into the space behind. The run is absolutely textbook number 9. And I wonder now, after we were just talking about Mbappé being ineffective in that role, Vinicius plays the pass into Rodrigo to win the penalty. He spins away from the defender to make the first goal and score it. I am starting to wonder if Ancelotti is starting to think about the idea that, the idea that they could switch mid-game and you don't know which one of them you're going to be marking
that might be more
is absolutely terrifying for any defender in the world, centre-back or right-back, who has to deal with this threat, this dual threat that's about to be unleashed in this regard. But I think that maybe Vinicius has that link-up play, that tight control, and doesn't need quite the amount of space that Mbappé wants to kind of maraud into in order to be effective in big games like these, especially in a game where his team are actually pretty under the cosh, right? He is playing there as a solo striker, Rodrigo kind of on his left, Valverde marauding up and down the right. There was loads to like about this from a kind of number 9 perspective from Vinicius. And I kind of just wanted to expand on that point because I am starting to get the feeling that when we see Real Madrid line up next in August with both of these players on the pitch, Mbappé probably wearing the 9 and Vinicius wearing the 7, if the man actually playing in the middle as they kick off that game is Vinicius Jr.
Maybe, mate. Maybe you might be on something. I mean, I don't think we should use that particular moment against Kim as a marker that he's like an elite player in that position, because you're basically taught that move when you're about 12, and the defenders have usually sussed it out by the age of about 14 or 15. So I don't think he would get away with it on a regular basis. But I take your point. He does obviously play there semi-regularly when he comes inside for Madrid now. I don't know which. I don't want to see either. I don't want to both play left wing and just leave no one in the middle.
Well, we'll see how that one works out. But if anyone's going to make it work, it's Carlo, isn't it? So
I got Endrick. He'll be sat in the middle, mate.
Oh yeah, we forget the amount of talent coming through Real Madrid. Truly quite exceptional at the moment. All right, 2 quick other points to have a think about. One was that in the battle of the players who've played for England, it was the one who got away, who shone brightest. It was a good game, I thought, from Harry Kane, if a little bit subdued. I thought he linked up play really well and he became quite selfless in the way that he actually adapted to the game in order to try and bring others into play, especially the wingers. But Jude Bellingham went off with a cramp, kind of struggled to impact this game in a way that he has done in
I think it's been revealed that he's been ill, hasn't he? He's been ill all week.
And he came off with cramp. It's fine. It's nothing to worry about. It's not a slight on Jude. He just didn't have a great game here, and that's fine. It's going to happen. You can't be brilliant every single game. But actually, Jamal Musiala, the ex-England youth international and now full German international, I thought was the best player on the park. And the way that he torched Lucas Vazquez, who we should remember had an absolute stormer against Barcelona in El Clasico at the weekend, who was able to affect that game in such, a dramatic fashion to basically seal the title for Real Madrid, who some Real Madrid fans were referring to as Cafucas Vazquez at one point. He must still be dizzy. And we talk about Nuno Mendes being torched by Jadon Sancho. Well, Vazquez got given the runaround by Jamal Musiala here. And he was chasing shadows for a lot of this game. I thought Musiala was divine inspiration in many ways, and especially when he came out and became an inverted winger in the second half and the changes that Thomas Tuchel made. I'll come on to them in a minute. But the way that he just had Vazquez's number time and time and time again in that second half, I thought he was magical. I thought he was magical in the middle. And I thought he was magical even more so in the position he played in the second half out on the wing. And the way that his kind of twinkle toes draw the penalty as Bayern start to gain the momentum again in this second half, I thought it was a stunning display from him. And we talk about this kind of breadth of England talent and the fact that the squad feel like they should be amongst the favourites, and rightly are, to win the Euros this summer. Imagine if they'd kept Musiala.
I don't know if he'd get in a team, mate. I don't know where he'd fit in.
Don't know if he would get in the team. Did you watch the game last night?
Where would he play?
I don't know, but you'd fit him in somewhere.
Got no room for him. Good player, though.
Very, very good player. Very, very good footballer. Big fan of Jamal Musiala, and I thought he was brilliant again here. But the other point is that Thomas Tuchel, I thought, managed this game really, really well. The first half formation that allowed Bayern to get out and infiltrate this Real Madrid team, to put them on the back foot. And look, yes, you can talk about the fact that Real Madrid roll with the punches. I think I tweeted that they feel like a knockout boxer in so many ways. They just wear punch after punch after punch and they don't go down. And then they suddenly hit you with an absolutely brutal counter hook that floors you to the canvas. That is one of, I think, the most apt descriptions of Real Madrid that I can think of, because you're talking about a team here who weren't in this game for the first 15, 20 minutes, who looked like they weren't at the races, and then suddenly off they go. And Thomas Tuchel mentioned it in his pre-match conference. He said, you see a Real Madrid goal and 10 seconds earlier, you rewind it and you're thinking, where did that come from? And that's what they have the ability to do to you. But on the whole, I thought Tuchel got this really, really right. And he allowed his Bayern side to take control and the initiative of the game from the beginning. And the way that he played the split strikers in Thomas Müller and Harry Kane, and the way that they allowed their wingers to get into the game and basically play a sort of 4-2-2-2, kind of inverting his inverted wingers, allowing them to return to their natural forms, bringing chance after chance in the first half. Yes, none of them were taken, but they allowed Bayern to go on the offensive. And then at 1-0 down, to make that switch to bring Rafael Guerreiro on and go back to the inverted wingers, which is the thing that causes both of the Bayern goals in quick succession. First, Leroy Sané exploding off that right-hand flank and scoring a brilliant goal. For its worth, a little bit of criticism over Andre Lunin on this. I don't know how you save that. Like, it is so hard, so fast, and it's past him before he can blink.
Everyone just goes, well, it's at his near post. like that should be an impossible place to score. Like a goal's like, I don't know. I've always been annoyed by that.
Strike, and I don't think you can lay any. I think you can blame the defenders for not getting out to him fast enough. I think you can look at Ferland Mendy being beaten so easily. But I don't think you can lay that at Andre Lunin's door. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
It was outrageous from Sané.
Incredible from Leroy Sané, but bursting off that right-hand flank. And then Musiala bursts off the left-hand flank a second later and wins the penalty. And that switch at half-time allowed Bayern to regain control of a game that at 1-0 down at half-time, they could have been sitting there going, how are we not winning? And they probably were. But they allowed them to reshape, refocus, and get back into this game. And I thought that Tuchel, who has been rightly criticised a lot over the course of this season for the way his team have played at times, got a lot of things right yesterday and deserves due credit for being able to manage that situation in the way that he did. Because that halftime tweak is so, so clever. And it completely reshuffles the Real Madrid pack in how they're trying to defend this Bayern side, and it puts them back on the front foot because they know they're trying something different, and it's not just, okay, that worked for us for a bit, but Real Madrid might have worked it out 25, 30 minutes into the game, and once they score, actually Real Madrid are the better side for the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half. The way that they was able to switch it, I was very, very impressed. So shouts out Thomas Tuchel. Tommy Tactics
still got
back
it.
at it.
Still got it. Yeah. Do you fancy them then? Do you believe that Bayern can go on to the final?
It was really impressive. And look, there's two big performances from the two German sides who I think most people, and reasonably so, had written off as underdogs within this competition, given the semi-final ties they had, both away from home in the second leg. I think at this point, I would have expected one of them to be done and dusted. I didn't know which, but I expected one of the two teams to kind of be almost out of it or require something pretty incredible to go through in the second leg. The fact that they're both still in these ties and Borussia Dortmund ahead, Bayern Munich level, I think is testament to two very impressive performances. Do I think that Bayern Munich can go and do that again at the Bernabeu? Yeah, I kind of do, to be honest. But do I think that that's going to be enough to beat Real Madrid, their spiritual home, in this competition? I remain slightly skeptical.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? You logically, I do think that Bayern have the ability to be the better team again in the fixture. But in my head, Madrid are now clear favourites to actually get through to the final, which is a bit dumb.
They'll definitely be the happier of the two teams, not with the performance, but with the result, right? They're basically going into a level game, 0-0 at the Bernabeu, and they are going to feel like in front of that crowd, they can do anything. We've seen them perform miracles at this stadium, far greater than what we're asking or what they're being asked to do tonight or in this second leg. And yet, it just feels like there is something that draws them in. Look, I'd kind of be delighted if Bayern upset the odds here. And not because I harbour any particular love for Bayern Munich, but just because I think that to put in a performance like that and not be rewarded justly and to go and do it again would really put the cat amongst the pigeons, and also to make it very interesting to see what happens. I mean, the week before this game, Uli Hoeneß and Thomas Tuchel have been going at each other in the German media because Hoeneß basically implied that Tuchel was unable to develop youth players. And Tuchel's been having to sort of field these questions whilst preparing for one of the biggest games of the season against one of the best teams in the world in their competition. I just thought that, the way that he was able to deal with this game in light of that in particular was pretty remarkable. And I'm intrigued by this one. I mean, I think I'm intrigued by both. And I think everyone listening to this will be too. There's two Champions League semi-finals and a knife edge. It's not a particularly, counterculture point to take, if you will. But generally, I just think that Bayern showed me something in this game that we haven't seen very often from them this season. And maybe just that ability to go out, go toe-to-toe, and not necessarily have the expectation that they do every single week in the Bundesliga to win. Maybe just slightly allowed them to play with a little bit more freedom and expression, and it really suited them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, when I was ranking these teams, I said, if Bayern aren't winning from their first away leg, then I don't really fancy them because their away form isn't that good. Over 15 away games in Germany this season, they have drawn 2 and lost 4, which isn't great when you go to Real Madrid. At the new Bernabeu, they haven't lost yet, have they? At the new Bernabeu? Don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
This is an actual European fortress. Like, this is the last place you expect to go and get a win in a Champions League semi-final. But Bayern have got nothing else to play for. Like, this is their cup final, right? You just treat this like a cup final. Because if you win this game, you probably do win the final. You probably do go on to lift the trophy. That's why these two are my 1 and 2. The new Bernabeu is made for nights like this. That place will be unbelievable. But it's not the best Real Madrid team you've ever seen. So Bayern Munich have to remember that. Remember that they dominated large spells of this game. And they've got a chance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody's saying that this Bayern side don't have a chance, especially with the amount of talent that they have. It was nice to see Leroy Sané playing with freedom again. It was great to see Jamal Musiala playing like that. It was great to see Konrad Laimer dominating in the middle. I think he's really grown into this season, you know. He's a player at the start was like, nope, they can't play him, but he's become a really reliable partner for Goretzka. His work rate's absolutely phenomenal, and he's really started to make himself a key cog, I think, in this Bayern team, which is great to see, because he was, I think, unfairly by some written off very early into his Bayern career, and it made me quite sad, because I think Konrad Laimer is exceptional. But on the whole, I think that was a very, very impressive performance from Bayern. Can they go and do the same away at the Bernabeu? I don't know. But I think we could expect fireworks again if they can turn up 80% of what they delivered at home. Does that get them through? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think there's definitely more than a puncher's chance for both of these German sides in getting to this Champions League final, which I was a little bit sceptical of. So I'm delighted to see it. And with that, DJ, I think it's probably time for us to bring this to a close. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you ever so much for listening to this Champions League takeaway on Ranks FC. Thank you very much to my co-host, Mr. Dean Jones.
Cheers, mate.
I've been Jack Collins. This has been Ranks FC. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another main episode where we'll be talking about the European team of the season and, of course, another Champions League takeaway, looking back at the second legs of these perfectly poised semi-finals. Thank you so much. We'll see you very soon. Take it easy. Peace.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries plus napkins plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.